to Leeds lately, before we get into this video, if you could just hit that sub button down below, that would massively help me out. As you can see, different settings this time. We of course missed the live watch along because I was away for the weekend, but I did catch most of the game. I only missed kind of the first 10-15 minutes or so, but again, a game in which we have played against a top side and done well enough to, what a lot of people thought, win the game and deserve to win the game, or at least get a draw out of it. There's a late penalty as well that we could have had. So I think overall I'm happy with the start to the season, and during the international break I am going to do a video basically going into a lot more detail and a lot more depth about the first portion of the season, the opening 8 games or whatever we've played so far, to give you a kind of real idea of my thoughts on how things are going in terms of the transfer business, in terms of all that. But in terms of this game itself, again, we look like a solid Premier League side. We look like a side that can compete. We look like a side that is physically able to compete with these other sides. Thomas Frank, we know, is a very good, astute tactical manager. I talked in my tactical preview about the way that they would play, and they did do a lot of those things that I said in that video, dropping the ball off to Pedro Porro for him to put deep crosses into the box for them to try and score goals. Matisse Tell with their first goal from that kind of on the right hand side, and just flew up into the top corner, Darlow's side. Could Darlow potentially have done better? Maybe, but it's one of those ones where it's just passed him before it even knows it. Our goal was decent. We had a sustained kind of period of pressure over that kind of 10 minutes or so. And when the ball came across to Aronson, he went for a volley. It kind of, I can't remember, deflected or just bounced off the surface and then parried out by Vicario straight into the path of Noah Okafor, who now has 2 goals in 3 games, putting it in the back of the net. So that's great for his confidence as well, playing off that left-hand side. I thought for me that Okafor was our best player in this game. The amount of times that he would get the ball, take people on, open up spaces for his teammates, that's really what you want to see out of Noah Okafor. And I've seen criticisms of Okafor over the last few weeks for the way that he plays, but at certain points you have to have players who take risks, and Okafor is certainly a player that falls into that category. And for me, he takes risks for the potential rewards that they bring. You can see that he is somebody who is capable of taking the ball past 2, 3, 4 players, which creates space because all of those other players then have to reshuffle with their zonal marking and try and close the gaps that have been opened by players having to be pulled out of position to deal with that. So I can accept a certain level of ball loss from somebody like Noah Okafor, especially if it's over in the left wing position where you've got an entire team to kind of deal with the counter-attack, because you need somebody to kind of make those calculated risks. And Okafor, in certain games like this one, I think it comes off more than in other games, and you say, what a good performance from him. So I thought he was really good. I thought Sean Longstaff was good as well in the midfield, breaking things up, bringing the ball forward as well, having shots when he had the chance. There was a few that were not far wide at all that he kind of fizzed across the surface towards the goal. And of course, Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well had his chances. There was moments where he got through on goal and the goalkeeper made very, very good saves. I do think that Calvert-Lewin has had quite a few very good chances and should have finished more of them than he has. That's what I'll say about Calvert-Lewin, because for me, some of those chances he should have been putting in the back of the net. And do you know what? I actually think that potentially Joel Pirou finishes them. Some of those chances, but you've also kind of got to look at it as well and go, well, does Joel Pirou even get himself into that position in the first place? Speaking of Joel Pirou, he did have a chance later on in the game, but this is kind of the first time that Farke's, since you've had Calvert-Lewin and Metcher as options, it's the first time Pirou has kind of been an option off the bench, and he brought him and Metcher on to try and impact things later on. And when you look at the momentum graph for this whole game, it was very much, especially in the first half, a lot of Leeds and not that much Spurs. And I think that we tailed off slightly in the second half, but look, Spurs have got a much better squad than us. And I do want to say as well, Spurs are not a side that we're expected to beat at all. But if we can hold our own against them and potentially get points against teams like Spurs, that massively, massively helps us out for the rest of the season. But there are a lot of promising signs there, and I'm taking positives from it. Of course, Spurs aren't as good a team as Arsenal, and it was at home. But when you take the kind of context of the level of opposition against Bournemouth, who are obviously a very good side, we draw when we should have really won. This game, we definitely should have had a draw out of it. Of course, there are moments and these sliding doors moments in these games where if Calvert-Lewin puts that one under the keeper, if certain things go in other directions earlier in the game, you could see Leeds go on to even win this game. But you don't get anything for that in the Premier League. Leeds had an XG of like 2.3 or something, and Spurs had a 0.3 something. But you don't get anything for that if you're not clinical with your finishing. And I think that is still something that we need to improve on. Whether we can, there's two ways to combat that. In terms of the transfer window, there's either bring somebody in January who it looks like potentially will be Harry Wilson. That's option A, because whilst he doesn't make you more clinical as a team, he might be a part of Leeds getting more chances, so therefore you're scoring more goals on average by creating more chances. Or you bring in somebody as a striker who is more clinical just outright, somebody like Demirovic from Stuttgart. But Leeds, with the way that FFP's working and stuff like that, we can't, I don't think, spend that money. So it looks like to me it'll probably be somebody like Harry Wilson, where provides a little bit of extra set piece threat, provides more threat in terms of chance creation as well, potentially with the way that and the style that he plays being a little bit different to our other wingers. So I think that's how we improve in that department. But until January, we still have a big job to do. We've got teams like Burnley coming up where we have to go and get 3 points. And I think if we do go and get 3 points from games like that, you do feel a lot better about losing against teams like Spurs, because you can see that the foundations are there for us being a competitive side that could potentially stay up. West Ham lost again yesterday. And there are teams down there. For me, at the moment, it's looking like West Ham, Wolves and Burnley might be the ones to kind of face the drop. That's what I'm hoping, of course. I think Leeds and Sunderland might be all right. But we need to stop being the nearly team. We need to stop getting to the point where we're like, oh, we were really good in that game and we played well for spells, but we didn't quite get anything out of it. We have to be, against Bournemouth, we have to be seeing out a victory. 3 points over 1 point is massive for a newly promoted side. We have to be getting a draw against teams like Spurs in that context. Not in general, but in that context of that game where we were playing very well. I think with the chances that we created, for the most part with the way that we defended, we need to be seeing those games out, whether that's a draw against them, a win against Bournemouth. Those points lost in those situations really, really start to add up over the course of a season, and that's when you start to go, oh, but we played really all right this season and we're still slipping down into the relegation spots. We need to start turning those draws into wins and those losses into draws. Against Fulham, for example, was another case of it as well. So we have dropped quite a few points from positions where we were going to gain them in recent weeks, and after the international break, if we can turn that around against Burnley, that will be massive for player confidence. It will be massive for the fan base, for everyone, and then that gives you that kind of platform to push on and head into the next stage of the season. But overall in this game, I thought we were decent. We created enough chances to do well in the game and to potentially get a draw out of it, even maybe a win. And of course, we go into the international break now where, like I said, there'll be a video where I kind of review all of the games and what we've done so far. So look out for that on the channel. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately. Let me know what you thought of the game and the result down in the comments below. And I shall see you in the next one back in the normal setup.